Welcome everybody to Hold That Thought. My name's John Samuel with CJS Productions, and I'm in the studio with Cal Olivier. We're hanging out with the lead singer of the Fickle Souls. He's going to explain a little bit about the industry to me. Cal, what's going on, brother?
Not much. I don't know if I'm going to be explaining anything about the industry to you.
Oh, come on, man. You know a lot more than me. You're in the trenches every day.
They keep paying me, so...
Cal, what are we sipping on, brother?
This is Bumbu Rums. I found it from one of your gigs, actually. We were up at World of Beer in Gainesville, and Kerry, the GM there, took us over, and he said, "You got to try this rum. I just got it in," and we tried it, and we're like, "Ooh!" So now it's my rum of choice.
For those of you listening at home, this is really, really smooth rum. I'm not a huge rum connoisseur, but this is really, really good. Thanks for having me over, Cal, man. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out. For those, again, we're going to post Cal's video. We just shot a video of him doing an original song. What was the name of the song, Cal?
That was Red Skies. So it's kind of the follow-up to my first single that you guys saw when you booked me originally, Home. And so the song Home was about my grandfather in the war and then dying in the war. Even though my grandfather didn't die in the war, we just killed him off in the song. But Red Skies is kind of the precursor to that. It's about enlisting in the Army, and so it's my little military song.
That's awesome. I'm really excited about getting it up online and sharing it with everyone. We fell in love. Kerry and I fell in love with your music. I don't know, what has it been, like 4 years since we've been working together?
Yeah, I think it'll be 4 years in November. Or
3 or 4 years we've been booking around, and I remember when I came home one day and Carrie's like, "You gotta check this band out," and she showed me the home video that you filmed up in North Carolina, and that was one of the videos I used to get you a lot of work with. And I'm still have that video on my playlist and love checking it out.
Yeah, we got really lucky with that one. We were shooting a commercial, so their pay for us doing the commercial was a free music video out of it. So they shot it with the Sony Red camera, which is what they shot The Hobbit with. So it was really cool experience. But I think when I did that video, my voice was a good octave higher. I think it's dropped a bunch since then. So we need a new album. You reminded me it's been 4 years since we worked with you guys. It reminded me how long it's been since I put out an album. I really need a new one.
It's crazy how fast time flies. But so when I was first thinking about doing this podcast, I put the whole podcast together because I really want to learn more about the industry, and I want to connect with you guys on a different level and be able to see what you guys do on a daily basis. And you're just from hanging out with you for the last 10 minutes and been awesome. You've been showing me my way around this garage band and recording and everything. You put together some really kick-ass questions that one of them was really made me think. And I'm going to read this question. And one of the questions you sent to me was oversaturation of music in our area, resulting in audiences not being interested. Well, you're not really the only one who faces that problem. My company also faces that problem because I feel that in order to stay on top of things.
Every single bar has music. So people can't go to a bar to not listen to music. So then they go to the bars with music and they don't pay attention because they weren't going out to listen to music.
Now, do you think it's because they're too engaged with social media or smartphones, or?
I think it's a mixture. You have a group of people that go out to listen to music. You have a group of people that go out to hang out with their friends and talk to their friends, and you have people that are just, that's their lifestyle. They go out, and most of those people that they're just used to going out, they're on their phones, they're on there because it's an everyday thing, and they're just. So we lose a lot of them to smartphones and that kind of stuff. I mean, you lose everybody and everything to smartphones. I lose my sister in board games to smartphones.
I'm still bartending, and like when I first started bartending 20 years ago, I would hang out and we had so much fun. You shoot the shit with bar guests, you tell jokes, and now it's like I come in the bar and I'm hanging out and everyone's just completely engaged on Facebook or taking selfies, and I'm just hanging out back behind the bar. And
social media has made everybody antisocial.
I mean, Facebook Live's cool. I dig it for filming music, and I dig it, but when everyone's constantly engaged, it's almost like people are lost in translation. And like you said, the audiences are they're not intrigued by anything.
Yeah, they're not, we use, like you mentioned, Facebook Live. We use that like once a month, and it grabs people's attention offline to say, to remind them, we need to go see these guys again. Then there's people that use it like every show, and it's just too much, and it becomes commonplace, and you stop clicking on it to watch just because it's there every day. But, I don't know, like I said, I think the main problem, though, is because every single bar has music, you get 2 tables that want to listen to music, and the rest of the people don't. And if you had music-specific venues and specific venues without music, then the people who don't want to listen to music could go there. They don't have to worry about clapping and being courteous to the band. They can go do their own thing. They can go talk to their friends. They can hang out. And the people that want to hear music could go where the music is. But the problem is if you do that, then there's less work, and then we can't eat.
Do you think it would help if bars started switching up their formats?
As in what kind of way?
Because we're in the tourist state. We're in Florida, and it is cover central. And sometimes I think it's just a little bit too much that people are hearing the same thing. I love it because it keeps me in business. And I actually, as much as I love original music, I'm like everyone else, I still like hearing cover music. I would like to hear some different cover music. I'm kind of burned out on what everyone's playing.
Wagon Wheel?
Yeah, definitely. But, I mean, do you think if we incorporated theme nights, if we incorporated different genres, if we just started thinking outside the box?
I think theme night stuff like that might be cool, You give them a reason to go out and dress up a certain way and have a certain kind of thing. I think that would work. It's funny, the original versus cover thing. When we moved down, we were a bit more of an original band. And we were really popular when we first moved down here. Everybody liked us. And everybody kept requesting that we do these covers, these stereotypical covers. And all these people were always coming to our shows, so we felt like we owed them to learn those covers that they wanted to hear. And then as we started to learn the covers that they asked for, they stopped coming to shows because we became another cover band. And all of a sudden we aren't as popular as we used to because we did what they asked us to. So everybody wants you to be that cool, next big thing original band, but they want you to play the covers, and you can't quite do both. They want you to be that just independent, only do original band with their own sound, but they want you to play all the popular covers. Well, you can't do both. You have to. You can't be one or the other. You can mix a little, but so now we're slowly in the transition to being more original again, because we actually had more people coming when we didn't do what they asked for and we played our original stuff. I don't understand it. It's weird.
I completely see where you're coming from. I came across, I was at a new brewery a couple weeks ago called Woodwright Brewery in Dunedin. We were hanging out, and up on the wall was this poster. And I very rarely see old school posters anymore. I love the visuals. I love seeing posters out there. It's the first thing, like Carrie and I, we were at Skipper's Smokehouse, and we saw a poster of Zach Deputy. And then 4 months later, we're at his show. And Carrie remembered the show from his poster. But anyways, back to this brewery, we saw this poster, and it said Quentin Tarantino Halloween Dance Party. And I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan, so I'm like, what is this about? So I asked the bartender, and the bartender said they hired a band called Benjamin Road. And I've never really seen these guys. I've heard a lot of great stuff about them. But they hired this band, and this band's coming in on Halloween, and they were playing nothing but all music from Quentin Tarantino's movies. All of his movies. That's Reservoir cool. Dogs, yeah. 4 Rooms. So that was a really interesting take. Would you guys ever explore and dab into anything like that?
So, I mean, not quite as narrowed down as them, but I mean, in a sense, we were kind of that way when we were more original. We were doing a certain style of folk music, a certain style. But the problem becomes with that is you almost have to travel to make that work because it's really cool. So they're super specific. They do just the songs from that, right? You see the show once, you've seen the show a million times then. So people complain that the show never changes. But there's only so many songs in Quentin Tarantino movies. There's only so much for them to choose from without completely changing who they are. So how do they...
It might almost turn you into like a tribute band.
Yeah, how do you...
In a sense.
How do you change your set list to keep people entertained? It gets them in the first time, absolutely. And that's kind of what we ran into is we do like the Mumford and Sons Illumineers. There's only so many of those bands to cover that people know. And they want to hear stuff they know. They want you to stay the same style. But they don't want to listen to the same stuff every time. And you can't really do that. There's only so much, And I think that's the problem with people have such short attention spans nowadays. That's the problem original bands have, is they don't want to go see you play the same stuff over and over. Originals is a little better because at least the only time they can hear those songs is from you. With covers, you hear them everywhere. So it's a little better with originals, but people want you to be different every time, but they want you to have a unique style and theme, like this Quentin Tarantino band. They want you to be... So, what do you do?
Yeah, I don't know. That's definitely a tough question. I was really intrigued by your question because our company faces the same thing. We got to stay fresh. I got to provide musicians who are at the top of their game, who are going to keep the energy high, who are going to switch up their set list and be a little bit different. And so that's one of the things I was looking into when you sent me that question because I was really, really intrigued by it. How do I stay fresh in an oversaturated market?
Yeah, how do you switch up your set list without switching up your sound while hanging on to your signature sound?
Yeah, and that's definitely, and that's with us is how do we provide new styles? Do we provide tribute bands? Do we get into something? And my goal and passion, along with Carrie's of CJS Productions, is always to be smack dab in the middle of original music, doing our thing, listening to you guys create. I like the experience of creating. I like watching artists create, whether it's music or art. And so like I said, your question intrigued me, and I reached out and I started surfing the net, trying to find somewhat of some type of answer. And one of the things I found really interesting, someone commented back and they explained are you familiar with John Candy's Trains, Planes, and Automobiles?
Yeah.
So in the movie,
you're getting John... before my time, though. I was born in 92.
Those aren't pillows. So in the movie Trains, Planes, and Automobiles with John Candy, he loses his job as a bathroom accessories salesperson. And I remember this. He's at the train station or the airport, and he's got a suitcase full of shower curtain hangers. And what's he do? He starts selling them to tweenies as multicolored earrings. So that was one of the examples some random marketing genius online gave me. And I thought it was interesting because you got to reinvent yourself constantly if you want to stay fresh in this music business.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you look at the people, the famous musicians on the radio, you look at the people that reinvented themselves and the people who didn't. You got like a Dave Matthews, which I don't feel like he ever reinvented himself. I feel like every album's the same style, and in a good way. I like that. I know what I want to hear when I buy a Dave Matthews album, and I don't feel like he did it, but you don't hear him on the radio. You know, he's not current. Then you hear bands like Mumford & Sons or the Dirty Heads, and like Mumford & Sons were banjo, folk rock. Now they're not at all because they reinvented themselves for the time, and business-wise they did what was right. They changed their sound, and now they're still top of the hits, but now they have people that like the other sound and don't like the new sound. Now they've lost those fans, but they've gained more new fans, so it loses its loyalty, but it's better business-wise, you know?
I think it's like the fans who consider bands selling out because they're willing to change up their sound and explore or try something new. I don't think they're true fans then. I don't think they understand like the creative aspect, and I don't think they understand that at some point you got to grow.
Yeah, I mean, I get that because I get both sides of it. If I was in a Mumford & Sons position, and for me to continue doing what I do for a living, it meant changing my sound, I would absolutely do it in a heartbeat. I would, quote unquote, sell out right away. It's still my art. It's still, but then as a listener, I like their first two albums. I don't like the new one. I don't want to listen to it. So it's not that I'm not a fan, but it's not the style of music I listen to. It's not what I'd pick up. It's just not what I want to hear. So I don't fault them. I'm not upset at them for changing their sound. I don't hold any ill will. I would do the same thing. But I'm not going to listen to them because it's not what I want to listen to. When I jump in the car, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear banjo. I'm one of those weird people.
That's an interesting take. That's why I was so excited today to come hang out and catch up with you. One of the other things that you mentioned was visual gimmicks. You said people are really looking at the visual instruments opposed to instruments that actually sound good. For those of you at home, I'm sitting in Cal's studio, and I could not even give you a count right now of how many instruments I'm surrounded by. This is truly awesome. Explain the visual gimmicks opposed to the audio instruments that you're talking about.
So when I start any band, when I start any project, I don't look at it as just a music project. It's a show, and it has, I'd say I'm more of a movie fan and a book fan than I am of music. And so everything I do is like a book or a movie, though. It's the full show. I want to see the outfits, the instruments, the faces, the music. I want it all to match. And so when Hannah first started in the band, we had her playing harmonium, which is an Indian accordion, which I thought fit real well with a traveling folk kind of act. It's a weird instrument. It looks weird. But from the audience side, looking on stage, all they see is a wooden box. And if you hear it, it sounds like an accordion. Absolutely all day. So I have no problem somebody calling up and saying, "Is that accordion?" No, it's a harmonium. Cool. I don't mind that getting mistaken. That's what you hear. But we have people come up to us at these bar gigs and they say, "Is that a drum machine?" No, it's not. It's not a drum machine. Where do you hear drums? There's no drums coming through. At the time, I didn't even have the suitcase drum. So we had no drums at that time. We had multiple people come up and ask questions like that. Or is it a piano? Or is it this? Do you hear a piano? Do you hear drums? And it's like, well, if that's putting across that image, I don't want that. Even though it's not my fault. It's theirs. I don't want the image to come across that we're a band that uses a drum machine because that's not the right vibe with a folk band. A folk band does not use drum machines, So we got rid of the harmonium for live shows, and we switched more to her playing ukulele because it doesn't get mistaken as anything but an ukulele or a mandolin, which once again, that's a similar enough mistake for an average listener that I'm okay with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
She's also going to be getting a banjolele soon, and that visually you can see it looks like a little banjo, so I feel like people, they'll recognize, they see it, and they say folk. Their eyes tell them that it's folky sounding. They don't hear it. Their eyes just tell them it's folky sounding.
Yeah.
I used to play kick drum and stuff, with my foot, and I had a stomp box. So there's this little electronic stomp box that I stomped on. It made a kick drum noise. And people would ask me all the time, oh, you sequence your kick, you pre-record it. I'm like, no, I'm doing it right here. But it wasn't big enough to show them, so they assumed it was pre-recorded. So that's why I switched to the suitcase drum, which is sitting here. And it's,
all right, I love it.
It's visually striking. It
is visually appealing. It's a bright red, old school suitcase. Probably one that was in planes, trains, and automobiles. And it sounds great. Cal played a song earlier with it. Where did you snag the suitcase from?
So I stole the whole idea from an artist named Shaky Graves. He's kind of a midway artist. He plays South by Southwest Bonnaroo, but he's not your headliner. It's pretty much replica of his drum. I saw him play, and I'm like, that's cool. It was the first time I saw a contraption where you could do kick drum and tambourine with both feet while standing up, because before that I was limited to, I'd have to sit down, and then I realized he could play it with his heels on this. So I like that because, once again, visually, people respond better when we're standing at shows, I found, than sitting. Sitting gives a mellow vibe. No matter what the music sounds like, it gives a mellow, like, this isn't a party vibe. Standing up gives a more of a, it's okay to dance, it's okay to get up. So I wanted to be able to stand up, so I got the old suitcase from a thrift store down the road for $8. And a local drummer was laughing at me, Brad Smith, because I have an $8 drum with about $1,000 worth of drum pedals hooked onto it. So the pedals cost more than the drum itself. But it works good, and it's, like I said, you can see it. Most places we play, you can see it. And don't get me wrong, it adds to the music. Doing folk, it adds to the music. Nowhere near as much as a drummer would do. But if a drummer and I were playing, people just kind of walk by because you see a guitarist drummer all the time, no big deal. This, I'm playing simpler stuff than a drummer. It's not visual, the audio isn't as good as a drummer would be. I mean, I can't do as much with my feet as a drummer can do with all four limbs, But people see it and they're impressed just because it's on my feet and they just want to watch. And it doesn't take that long to get used to doing. It's not, I'll be honest, it's not that hard. I wouldn't doubt it if most of the musicians in the area could pull it off. But the average viewer gets a kick out of it. It's that one-man band thing. It's cool. It's a show. It's just like I talk about. When I put an act together, I want it to be a show. You can go listen to music in your car. Why would you go watch a band if you can listen in the car if all you're going to do is listen? You want to see something different.
Yeah, the visual, I honestly believe that the visual is just as important.
You're an entertainer. You're not a musician. You're an entertainer.
Hearing the music. When did you first realize that it was time to switch it up and that people were more apt to get into the show when you were standing?
So once we lost our drummer, who's my father, when he stopped playing with us, Hannah and I were at a loss on how to, keep the sound, because all that folky music that we do, the modern folk kind of stuff, it needs that kick drum kind of driving the music along. And so we sat down for a while, and I was sitting down playing a kick drum, and she was sitting down, and just people just did not pay attention at all. They just didn't pay attention, and we just kept trying different things. So this show we stood up, this show we added this show we left, and so it's just kind of a combination of things that this is the most attention in this format we've gotten. We also recently changed our stage setup. Part of the reason we got rid of the harmonium is so that she could be closer to me on stage. People eat up the lovey-dovey thing because it's my wife and I, and half the time she'll be looking at me like, I know what the look is, and I want to kill you because you messed up the song. I hit a wrong chord, or I changed a chord too soon and I messed her up. And it's a look of pure hatred and she wants to kill me. But somehow it gets confused to the audience of a look of pure love. And everybody's like, that look you give him, it's just so sweet how she looks at you with the love in her eyes. I'm like, oh, is that what it looks like? Because I was pretty sure I was going to die. And but we started noticing that was a comment we got a lot more than you're a good musician, or there's, oh, we love how you guys look at each other and sing to each other with love. And don't get me wrong, we love each other, but we weren't really thinking about that when we were playing, And they said, oh, we love, how you look at each other. And we got more comments when she'd come sit in at my shows and sing on the same mic as me than when we were at our real shows where she was over with her harmonium, I was over with my stuff. And we found it was the distance, it was the proximity. So she had the harmonium between us, and there was that space between us. Space between,
there you go.
And so we switched to singing on one mic for a while there, and people really dug it. But the sound was really hard to get going on one mic singing together, and we kept hitting each other's hands while we were playing guitar and ukulele, and it just wasn't working. So now we have two mics, but they're very, very close, and they're angled. So instead of facing out at the crowd, we're facing at an angle so that we're looking at each other and the crowd. And people feel awkward sometimes when you look at them, we found. And they feel awkward when you're looking down at your hands or you're looking down at your feet. It makes you look insecure. But when we look at each other, they're fine. They like it when we ignore them and we look at each other, just because it's that they're so lost in the music and love. And once again,
really interesting.
Not to put down the whole love aspect of my wife and I playing. We do love each other. We love playing together. But, you play 5 shows a week. You're not thinking about how much you love each other for 4 hours, 5 nights a week.
You're getting through the show. You're playing your gig.
It's not happening. I mean, she's been married to me almost 2 years now. She doesn't love me that much anymore.
I could only imagine playing with my wife. I mean, we can't even sit down and finish one
You
one
mean
song,
you'd have so much fun playing with your
band.
You would love to play with your wife for a living, is what you mean to say, John.
Yes, that indeed.
You can sleep on the couch tonight.
So before we explore more into this ROM, who's your favorite local artist?
Local artist. See, that's tricky because we play when they play, so we don't get to see too many people anymore. We've been playing like 4 shows a week this year, and when we don't play, we don't really go out because we're introverts, and we stay at home. But of who we've seen, that's a good question.
I know you're always out gigging, and you probably don't see as many bands as you wish you could go out and see. But there's got to be someone that really stands out to you.
I haven't been able to go out and see music where I'd want to go see music enough. I like a lot of the musicians I share shows with, a lot of the people I play with. But, like I said, I'm into the visual aspect of things. I like something different. I don't want to go see a guitar guy. I know a ton of guys in this area that are really good at playing guitar and singing. They're great. They're phenomenal. I think they're awesome. But you can see it anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's why I do my show the way I do, is because I think about what I'd want to see. I want to see a guy play drums with his feet. I want to see a weird harmonium Indian instrument. I want to see something different. And, I haven't found as much of that down here, which, is to my benefit a bit. If there's less weird, gimmicky bands, that makes me one of the only ones. But when we were in North Carolina, there was a lot of that.
Yeah, you've told me about that. And I believe when we first started working together, you always rapped about that and told me about the spoon players and the washboards. And
yeah, I think the bars down here kind of squash some of the uniqueness, actually. Because, even with you guys, you've gotten messages from your bars and sent it back to us, like, this one wants drums and guitar. Or this one wants 2 guitars. Or sometimes they put such specific guidelines.
And I think that's because they want that steady beat.
Yeah,
they want that steady beat,
and I get that. And
it provides the energy.
And to your average listener, a manager of a bar that knows bar, that's how they think of dance. Is they just think drums. They know people dance to drums, but then they limit it to not giving anything else a try. Not to say that some of them don't, but I think that's why a lot of people in the area don't try and do something different, because they know they get booked as is what they do. I did see a really cool video that, a drummer named Ricky that plays in there. He plays with Rob K sometimes.
Yeah.
He plays with quite a few other people. He was playing with this guy. I think his name was Stickman. I have never seen this guy live, but Ricky was playing, and Ricky had a Zen drum, which is probably the coolest thing I've seen. So
the Zen drum is really cool. Shout out to Ricky. Ricky in Tampa.
I'd probably say he's the only thing that comes close to what I'm talking about, wanting to see something different. He plays something different. It's different. So I enjoy watching him play when he plays doing that. He's a great drummer on a kit, but I can see any drummer on a kit, so I want to see him play the Zen drum. I want to see something different. And he played with this guy that plays this stick instrument, and it's like this weird. I think the guy might have made it, and it was him on that and Ricky playing the Zen drum. So you've never seen that. You walk in and it's you've never seen that duo. You know, it's something different. I'd like to see more of that. You know, I feel like more places where you see those kind of bands are places like Skippers, and I haven't been to Skippers in 2 years because I don't go out. And, you know, my buddy just showed me a band called Apple Butter Express, and they were kind of cool. You know, they were different. It was ukulele and upright bass and guitar and I think fiddle. So it was a different instrumentation. I need to see something. I want to see something different.
That's cool. I was at Brewster's a couple weeks ago in Dunedin, and I got to see this guy that we used to work with a couple years ago, and we're probably going to start working with him again. His name's Jay Klein, and he was just amazing, but he had a Damien Rice vibe to him.
Oh, I love Damien
Just
Rice.
his whole setup. He was playing solo. There was probably 3 people in the bar. I was probably the only one paying attention, hanging out, having a beer, and this guy just got into his set, and he was playing all originals, and he sounded just like Damien Rice. And it wasn't just his vocals that reminded me of Damien Rice. It was the whole ambiance, the whole show.
Damien Rice has like that big, huge crescendo in all of his songs. They start so delicate and mild and quiet and meek, and then they get these gigantic build. You know, a typical like pop song is verses are quieter, choruses are louder and bigger, and they go up and down and up and down. Damien Rice does like this one big crescendo. I'm making a bunch of hand motions so you understand me that you can't see. Yeah, but he does these big crescendos with the drop-offs, and they're so emotional. Like you just, your heartbeat is rising with the song, and then it drops. And I wanted to be like that so bad, and then it's too depressing to play at bars most places. That's probably why he had 3 people, is because people aren't receptive to that quiet, like, heartfelt music. I love it. That's what I want to go see, and you just can't find it because most places don't have it down here.
No, it doesn't come around. When Carrie used to blare him on the Pandora all the time, and she'd be rocking out, and I'd get home and I was like, I can't handle this. He's just really slow. And so when she came home and told me, hey, I got tickets to see Damien Rice, I was not interested in going to the show at all. I was almost going to be like, yeah, take your friend, I'll hang out with the kids. But she talked me into it.
That's right, you were at the show that we were at, right?
Yeah. And I was so glad I went to the show because it was nothing like his music on the radio.
It's almost like he's facing the same problems as us. You can put anything you want on a CD, you know, and if it's good, it's gonna cross over well. I think he found a way. He was facing the same thing. He couldn't just play his depressing songs all show. He's like, people will get bored, you know, and they'll be done. So he didn't even do it like his CD. Every song he had was like rocking out at the end of it. You know, he had all this stuff going on. Now, I'm not a fan of loopers. I mean, I think it's cool. I think some people can be great with them. Don't get me wrong. I don't like electronic stuff. I like everything just acoustic and natural. And if you can't play it live, I don't think you should do it. I don't think you should do it. Like I said, some people do great with it. I don't want to do it. And that's not the kind of stuff I like to listen to. I wouldn't put myself through playing the kick drum and tambourine all night if I didn't care about it. I'd just sequence it and be done with it. It'd be a lot less work on me. But that being said, Damien Rice found a way to make it really unique. He never just looped the guitar just to take a solo. It wasn't, you know, so many people, it's just a way to solo. And he did it so that he could play, like, what did he pull out at the end? Clarinet, and then he started beating on the suitcase and the cymbal. Stuff like that's really cool. Like, that's a different way of approaching it. And still not my favorite thing in the world, but it was really cool the way he did it. You know,
that is he's definitely got an awesome sound. So with your sound, when's the next album? When's it coming out?
So I'm gonna tell you the beginning of the year because I got to keep telling everybody that, so I have pressure on me to get it done. We've changed how we were gonna do it, what songs are gonna be on it. I mean, we're probably sitting on like 50 songs right now, but I just keep changing my mind. Half the time, like, oh, I want a big production with strings and this and that and the other. Half the time, like, I want it to be exactly the same as the show. Just what we play at the show, you know? Same kind of as the looping deal. I'm like, I want my CD to be just like I want to do it one take live, like a bluegrass band or a jazz band would do it. Just take it, what it is. And then I do that, and then I listen to it, and I'm like, oh, but this part would sound cool. And then I add all this stuff on top because my brain doesn't stop working. And then I add all this stuff, and then I decide I don't like all the stuff again, and I want to do it bare bones again. Then I start over. And then I'll pick up some new band, and I'll start listening to a new CD, and then I'm like, this stuff's cool, and then I'll write like 5 new songs that sound like that, but if I record those songs, they sound nothing like the other ones, and I can't record them together on the same CD, and it's a nightmare. But I think we finally settled on, we're going back to more of that mountainy, folky sound. We've gotten way too far away from it since we moved down.
That's what we fell in love with, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the new album. So where are you getting your music off?
So
where are you coming across new tunes?
What my wife tells me to listen to. No.
I think we've talked about this before.
Pandora and Spotify are good for finding new stuff. But I'm really into the Devil Makes Three lately. Have you ever heard them?
No.
They're really cool. It's 2 guys on guitar and a girl on upright bass. And they do real ragtimey, old-time, bluegrass, folk, rock music. It's really cool stuff. And it's kind of like what you'd expect like a traveling vaudeville bunch of misfits to sound like. That's kind of what we're going. That's like the whole theme right now of our band is vaudeville traveling. So the next album's going to be kind of circusy. Like one of the songs I just wrote was about a medicine man traveling and selling his drug and this and that. And Hannah and I, in picking our instrumentation, have come up with the concept of we want to be able to carry it in our hands. So I can carry my guitar in my suitcase, and she's picking instruments that she can carry. So she's going to have the banjolele and probably get a ukulele bass or something like that upright you couldn't carry. So this is all about how this band is traveling, people that are hopping on trains and skipping down.
And you guys can just pick up and go.
You know.
You guys spent some major time on the road, didn't you?
We did. I used to tour a lot when I was with
I know we
some
sent
other
you... How many times did we send you over to Colorado?
We went to Colorado 2 or 3 times. We went to Texas like 6. It just ended up... It was fun. But we're homebodies, and it costs more than we make most of the time. You know?
That's awesome.
But... I don't know. So the new album should be out next year. That's the hope. We're going to try and get it done.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate your time, and it's always a pleasure to hang out with you. Before we leave, for anyone who's just coming across your music, because we're going to post a video, your original music, what's the best way to connect with your music?
You can go to Facebook and look up The Fickle Souls. I think it's facebook.com/The Fickle Souls. But if you look up The Fickle Souls, we're like the only result. But I don't like Facebook because it changes where stuff is all the time.
Well, give us, what's your favorite? Give us your favorite.
Go to the website. It's caloliviermusic.com. So it's CALOLIVIER music.com, just to make it hard on you. All the show dates are on there. The new album will be on there. We're probably going to put the album out for donation instead of for sale, so you can pay what you think it's worth. Yeah, that's the best place, and then come out to a show.